My name is Joseph DeLeo. I am not a climate change denier. I know nobody who is. The only constant in nature is change. It changes on all different time periods for all different reasons, natural and man-made. On 100,000-year time scales, we find long periods of glaciation and short intervals of warming and glacial retreat related to changing Sun-Earth orbital parameters. We're lucky to be in a period of relative warmth now. Still, in these interglacials, we get ups and downs due to cycles in solar output. One such cycle runs 1,000 to 1,500 years, and warm peaks have coincided with the greatest advances in civilization, the Greek, the Roman, the medieval, and modern times. The colder periods in between are more stressful for life, with crop failures, famines, and disease. The cycles have been getting progressively colder the last 4 millennia, culminating in the Little Ice Age of the late 1500s and 1600s. We have warmed since the Little Ice Age into a modern climate optimum that has allowed great industrial and agricultural revolutions to take place. Carbon dioxide has increased due to warming oceans and to a much smaller degree man, and has been beneficial to that revolution and enabling us to feed many millions more people. The recent warming shown by the IPCC, based on instrumentation, is greatly exaggerated. 50% of the U.S. warming was recently shown by Dr. Brian Stone at Georgia Tech to be due to land use changes and urbanization. This is in good agreement with over a dozen papers, including one co-authored by the Hadley's Phil Jones, who found urban contamination in China since 1900 to be 1 degree Celsius. This explains why the peak of record high temperatures in the United States remains in the 1930s, and globally all the continental heat records were in the 1800s or early 1900s. The current warming we find is mainly at night, in low levels, in winter, in high latitude populated areas, all characteristic of the urban heat island effect, and not greenhouse. Also, this warming has benefits in reduced energy needs. Properly adjust for that contamination and you get a seesaw pattern with a period of about 60 years. That ties in very nicely with cycles in the ocean, where both major oceans undergo decadal shifts in warm and cold water pool configurations. The Pacific Decadal Oscillation, or PDO, warm mode, increases the frequency of El Nino, which produces warming, as we saw from 1979 to 1998. The cold mode increases La Nina frequency, which produces cooling, as we saw from 1947 to 1977, and again in the last several years. The warming in the 1979 to 98 period correlated with CO2 increases, but correlation doesn't mean causation, and the fact that the correlation has been negative from 1947 to 79 and in the last 8 years implies no causation exists. The Atlantic multi-decadal oscillation influences the favored state of the North Atlantic and Arctic oscillations, which determine whether the continents are dominated by maritime or Arctic air. Also critical on this longer time scale is variations in solar output, brightness and irradiance, ultraviolet, which produces warming through ozone chemistry, geomagnetic, which warms higher latitudes, and the diffusion of cosmic rays, which may affect low cloud coverage. You can see how well solar output correlates with ocean cycles and land temperatures here. Well-established 106 and 213-year cycles are now converging to produce this shockingly deep and long, record-breaking solar minimum that has many solar scientists talking the possible return of a Dalton or even Maunder minima. This explains why your global climate models are failing miserably in their projections. The Earth is cooled since 2001 in all the data sets, even with their many documented warm biases. The greenhouse theory suggests the greatest warming in low levels in the polar regions and mid to upper levels in the tropics and subtropics. With the exception of the volcanic Antarctic Peninsula, the vast Antarctic has cooled, and the Arctic has varied in concert with variances in circulation and ocean temperatures in the Atlantic and Pacific. The model predicted tropical hotspot has been shown by both weather balloons and satellite to not be there. Recent peer-reviewed papers by Lindzen and Choi and Spencer show this model forecast warming in the tropical regions comes through assumed positive feedback mechanisms that are in reality, negative feedbacks, according to the satellite data. What needs to be understood is that CO2 is not a pollutant, and we are not controlling the climate. CO2 is a beneficial gas, natural cycles are in control, and threaten a major reversal of climate with a whole different set of problems than you think the world will be facing.